a lot of families that have found success also find struggle with returning back to the values that built the success. And
Yeah.
I think you have some framework around that that's just really, really fun to share.
Yeah, I really did. And I have to just right up front say, Scott, this is content and thought leadership that I never ever thought that I would share. I actually was called not to. And every time my colleagues tried to rip it out of me, I'd say, oh, no, I don't know if this model can work until my grandkids are raised. But right in the middle of COVID, as I saw just the complete disassemblance and the tearing of the fabric apart of our families and our core units and recognizing where that came from, I just had a really profound prompting to just bring this forward. And it's ended up being a joyful thing, but also a little bit tender. So I tread a little bit lightly what I talk about here. But yeah, indeed, this is the model that some 30 some odd years ago, my wife and I implemented for our family. Could I tell kind of the story of how that
Yeah,
came
I'd
to
love
be? And
to.
then
I'd
I
love to.
assume you
Yeah,
want me
get into
to
the weeds.
model
Yeah.
through that. Okay.
No, no. Let's get into the story because our listeners are story. They're the people that like the good campfire story. We can get into the weeds, and if they really want to learn more, you have the framework, the books, and the materials out there that we'll lead them to.
Yeah, so it was a personal dilemma. My wife and I both grew up in very humble circumstances. My wife was the youngest child of 9 of a dairy farmer. And my parents also struggled quite a bit. And so as we got married, the most important thing was our family. As a matter of fact, I'll say without hesitation, the most vital role that I have played is that of being a father. The one that I value more than anything is that of being a grandfather. And so early in my career, I was given a pretty significant opportunity. I was named general manager of Mitsubishi Electric's PC division here in the US, making more money than my father and my father-in-law at the end of their career. And it terrified my wife and I. It terrified us so much that our brilliant plan was to move to a very poor neighborhood and never tell our children that we had any money. And so this went on for a couple of years. I had an associate that came to me at one point and says, Rich, I've seen you do some really smart things, a few stupid things, but this tops the list of the stupidest things I've ever seen done. Because what's going to happen if your kids don't figure this out? If they don't figure out, which they will figure out, but if they don't, what you've done is you've passed the problem on to your grandchildren, completely destroyed your grandchildren. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. And so I went on this hardcore quest trying to find a framework or a system of how to navigate this problem. What I discovered is what all the financial planners were offering, what all the investment people was is family banks, family constitutions, trusts, wills, and all these sterile instruments that honestly was just a bunch of hogwash. It just wasn't solving the problem, it was actually complicating the problem. So at that point, I was pretty close with Stephen Covey and went and had a conversation with him. He's one of my primary life influence mentors and says, here's what I'm facing. He says, you're right. There's nothing. Now I can offer the family mission statement, start with that, which I did, but it sounds like something to build. So what I did is I went and looked at any institution that endures. Anything that survives long term always had these key elements. And then I framed a framework after that. The platform being values. In your business, the first thing you define what your values and what you stand for. The government, first thing you do, it doesn't matter whether you're in Brazil, Canada, or US, they frame a constitution and they put their values. But we as families, we don't do that. We lost the art of that in the Industrial Revolution. So the first platform, most important, is getting coherency and agreement with your significant other on what your values are. Then equal important, if not more important, is what are you removing? In my wife and I's family, shame and guilt were used like peanut butter and jam to get any behavior you wanted. And we determined we are not passing guilt, we are not passing shame, and we are not passing scarcity. So we very deliberately put that in the trash can. Then once we had the platform of values, the Legato framework calls out these 4 elements. The first is symbols. You have a logo for your podcast. We have the flag of the United States. We have pick your famous sports team. They have a color. But I bet anything, most of you listening to this don't know what your kids' colors are. They don't have a spirit animal. And likely, you don't have a family logo or symbol. Well, we did. And this amazing thing happens when we identify. And by the way, if you're not doing this, guess who you're competing with? The Bloods, the Crips, and a professional basketball team whose values likely do not align with your family. But it's the first thing. We need this on such a deep rooted human level. It's kind of like air and water to us. So creating a family symbol became the first thing that clearly identified. You can see my there behind with my wife's in the center, surrounded, protected. I hold the space for her to fully manifest. And then each of my sons, we never turn our back on each other. We're always pointed inward. And then when my sons get married, they light up the little dot playing that role. And my favorite is the little grandkids that all focus in. You know, the first thing my grandkids do when they come is they always run, get a treat, and give a hug. But the second thing is they'll go to the family logo. And they'll say, Everly, Everly. Oh, Grandpa, Samuel. They know where they fit. And it really matters because they're able to be seen. The ultimate human need is to be seen. So symbols. The second is doctrine. In the absence of really good clarifying doctrine of how you behave in the tribe, rooted on the values, you got a whole bunch of stupid rules. You show me a family or an organization with a bunch of rules, and I'll show you a broken culture. You do not need a ton of rules if you understand the fundamental tenets of the doctrine. So I ask you, do you have a family mantra? Do you have a family slogan? Do you have a family song? Do you have a family mission statement or a family framework? Do you have these guiding documents that all kind of return you to basis? I could go a lot deeper there. In the interest of time, I'll just jump quickly. So the third is traditions. The cadences of tradition we have really, really matter. The short-term traditions and then also the long-term traditions. Most families have traditions like Thanksgiving, show up, watch the football game, everybody get drunk, brawl, repeat, rewind, do the following year. That's not constructive. So we've got to very, very deliberately root our traditions in our family values. So traditions is a key one. And then the one that I think really captivated, I really wanted to super glue this model, and it's the lost arts of rites of passage. So this is something that the indigenous cultures did so amazing. And we have the opportunity to even pour more rocket fuel on it. And so in our family, we put 8 is critical. It's when the pineal gland opens, enlightenment starts happening, self-discovery and self-governance. 12 is the age of puberty, where deciding course. 14 is the age where most kids really decide around that age, what am I going to be? Am I going to go forward? I'm going to be a scoundrel. And then 16 is the age of kind of career or interest setting. And then at 18, every son must kill his father, and every daughter must cut the eardrum string for their mother, or they end up codependent and dysfunctional. So in our family, we put some pretty kind of shocking, to the point people really don't believe we did it, which is great, rites of passage in place. It ended up being a total complete hoot, a complete blast, and just really deeply bonded us together as a family. The result now is I call my sons more for advice than they call me. My big son, my big 220-pound raw muscle, new improved version of me, came up to me last night, kisses me on the forehead, picks me up and squeezes me, shakes me around like a rag dog. And that's the result of me not meddling and interfering with his life and running him through these stages of passage. Once you have those 4 levels, again, values, throw away, symbols, traditions, doctrine, rites of passage, then you have...
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.